The end of high-rise superstructures is here. To this day, no building has been able to surpass the Burj Khalifa as the tallest mega building in the world. After 12 long years, people expected the crown to be challenged. But America doesn't care about mega-tall buildings, and China has unexpectedly banned the construction of buildings over 500 meters. But why? Aren't mega-tall buildings interesting anymore? Or worse, is there a secret reason that nobody wants to build them? In this video, we're gonna explain everything. The tallest building in the world. Before diving into mega-tall buildings at large, let's get to know the highest one of all. The Burj Khalifa is an impressive construction at 829.8 meters tall. The building stands at 1,278.5 meters high and has an astounding amount of 163 floors. It is one of the few megatall skyscrapers in the world, that is, buildings over 600 meters tall. The building is so tall that it has no real challenge. The Burj Khalifa is almost 200 meters taller than the second spot on the list, the Shanghai Tower. Although now the tallest building in the world is a symbol of Dubai's power, during its construction many doubted the building would ever become a reality. The construction of the Burj Khalifa, which began in 2004, was a lengthy and complicated task. First, the position of the tower had to be determined. The planners chose Dubai because the city already had several skyscrapers, so impact on the landscape would be minimized. However, the construction process proved to be very tricky. Engineers had to use some very innovative techniques to construct such a tall building. They used massive machines to help them build the floors one after the other. This way, even if one floor collapsed during construction, there wouldn't be any serious consequences. This was a great idea, considering how much material was used to make the building. It's estimated that the builders used 55,000 tons of steel rebar and 110,000 tons of concrete to complete the tower's construction over 6 years. To put those numbers into a more understandable format, the total aluminum used in the tower weighs as much as 5 A380 aircraft. The total concrete used in the tower weighs as much as 100,000 elephants. And if you laid down all of the rebars used in the construction end to end, the total length would be about 1/4 of the entire way across the globe. That's pretty impressive, I'd say. However, not all about the Burj Khalifa is excellent. The height is a scam. Despite being over 200 stories high, only 160 levels are habitable. Thus, Burj Khalifa is only 2 meters taller than the Shanghai Tower in terms of usable space. This begs the question, is it worth it to waste so much material and effort on buildings that won't be used to their full potential? Why do we keep building such tall buildings? The answer is more megatall buildings mean more space. Height limits are being revisited worldwide to maximize space for commercial and residential growth in response to rising population density and engineering advancements. Thus, there are several advantages to skyscrapers. One is that when we build vertically, we free up horizontal space in dense urban areas. This creates a little breathing room for people to move, live, work, and play. It means more parks, more trees, and more places for you to walk your dog in the mornings. In addition, skyscrapers provide additional housing opportunities for those suffering from financial inequality. Tall buildings enable developers to address housing shortages by injecting more housing into a restrictive rental market. Lastly, the view from up there is fantastic. Skyscrapers provide residents with views to savor and ponder as they unwind with a glass of wine at the end of the day. Oh, well, just thinking about that, maybe want to have a drink and contemplate the beauty of cities. I'll be right back. I'm kidding. However, many would argue that these advantages aren't enough to keep building higher and higher. Height isn't the pinnacle of technology. People might be focusing on the wrong thing here. Should we be building better instead of building higher? With the possible exceptions of Hong Kong and Manhattan, few cities in the world are dense enough to need 900-meter structures. 2 buildings of 450 meters or 10 buildings of 90 meters will usually suffice. Tokyo, for example, demonstrates that moderately tall buildings can be enough. Moreover, the advantages mentioned before can be debunked. If you want to free up urban space, making a few buildings of 100 meters is gonna be more than enough. Megatall buildings can't help poor people while housing luxurious hotels for the super rich. And those on the top of super tall buildings might have a better view, but the ones on nearby constructions will see nothing but concrete. And who wants that? After discussions on the topic, public opinion seemed to be that it's against superstructures. In 2012, the Council on Tall Buildings and Urban Habitat published a paper called Tallest 20 in 2020, which predicted that 8 megatall buildings would be constructed by 2020. When 2020 came, there were only 3. Superstructure problems. As of 2022, only 4 buildings have ever achieved megatall status. One isn't even complete. None of the buildings are in America, or even in the western part of the world. Does this mean that America can't build as well as the eastern world? The fact that New York doesn't have megatall skyscrapers has nothing to do with engineering. It's possible to build over 600 meters high into the city due to the solid bedrock and abundant local expertise. The problem is, nobody wants to build a skyscraper that high in the city. and for a good number of reasons. First of all, there isn't enough demand. Before the pandemic, Manhattan's office market was already full. In the past few years, the luxury real estate market has been slowing down, which led to the building of several tall, thin towers on small plots of land along Billionaires Row. Those buildings could only make money because they could charge high prices for their location and their park views. Nowadays, you can't rent out business space for even close to the same price. Megatall skyscrapers have a cost of more than $1 billion to build in the past, but they could be way more expensive going forward. Building projects in the United States cost several $100s more per square foot than in the Middle East or Asia. For those reasons, America is out of the market for megatall buildings. And with that news, China should be making its move to seize the market. But it's not. In 2021, China's Ministry of Housing and Urban Rural Development banned buildings taller than 500 meters and restricted the construction of structures above 250 meters in big cities. Cities with a population of fewer than 3 million people were restricted from building skyscrapers taller than 150 meters. But why would China lose the chance to stand out in skyscraper construction? According to Dr. Fei Chen, a senior lecturer at the University of Liverpool School of Architecture, the Chinese government has started to pay more attention to the quality of Chinese buildings. With China's rapid growth in the last few decades, many buildings have been built with no high-quality standards. Besides, these buildings would often clash with Chinese historical architecture, making the cities look like Frankenstein's monster. Lastly, the government wants to avoid building the so-called vanity projects, buildings that are created to make a statement instead of meeting a need. With China and America out of the picture, is there any hope for the future of high-rise superstructures? Could this be the definite end of megatall skyscrapers? Turns out there's still hope in the form of two massive buildings under construction. The first is Merdeka PNB 118 in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Once completed, it's going to be the second tallest building in the world. This building was proposed in 2010 and underwent several design changes until its construction began in 2014. On November 30th, 2021, the tower architecturally reached its final height, 678.9 meters above the ground. The construction of Merdeka PNB 118 tower is estimated to cost the US $1.5 billion. The building is set to open in mid-2023. While this first building won't break the world records, the second one can finally take that crown from the Burj Khalifa. The idea for Jeddah Tower began in 2008. Its creators were still in the planning stage, but they were sure of one thing. Jeddah Tower would be higher than the Burj Khalifa. When completed, the Jeddah Tower will be the first building to ever reach 1 kilometer in height. Yet, it seems like a distant prospect now. Since construction began in 2013, the project has had somewhat of a rocky start, let's just say that, with numerous delays. However, it seemed in 2017 that challenges had been overcome and everything would go swiftly. But construction of the tower was halted sometime in January of 2018, and it hasn't resumed since. This was due to labor issues and political maneuverings in Saudi Arabia. Two of the project's most prominent backers were arrested as part of the kingdom's anti-corruption crackdown. As of now, there aren't any updates on when the construction of the Jeddah Tower will resume, or if it will at all. Will the Burj Khalifa remain the tallest building ever built? Or will some other building take its spot? Let us know in the comment section below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more videos about similar projects, or just one video in this case, you can watch How China Builds So Fast? The American president is shocked. Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next video.